Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Russ. Hello.
How are you this morning?
I'm fine. I'm fine. How's
I
it
guess
going?
I guess it's
Alaska?
afternoon. Afternoon
Yeah,
for you, isn't it?
yeah.
It's still morning for us. There's no question about that.
I hope.
Amber has been a real trooper, making it very early for her.
Yes, yes. It's like 5:30 or
5:30 in the morning
yeah,
for her.
yeah. So,
So anything we should be talking about before we look at beeps today?
um, not that I can think of. Um, um, okay, should I just, so this is Phil 10.
This is 10,
Yeah.
and I think I'm ready if everybody else is ready.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, some of these are a little bit more vague, but okay, let's just get to them one by one. Beep number one. I was working on a Norwegian language exercise where you had to match the subject form of pronouns with their object form. I was doing it on the computer, and on the screen you had to move a box with the object form written in it and place it beside the correct subject form box. I had just matched the form my, which in Norwegian means me, with the subject form jeg, which is I. At the moment before the beep, I was looking at the empty spot beside the jeg box while holding the mouse button down to move the my box into that location, into that spot. The the sensation of pressing the button was not in, or holding the button down was not in my awareness. Visually, I was perceiving the blank blue space on the screen where I had the intention of moving the box to. And it was almost like I had the sensation of what it's like moving the box before actually moving it. And that's what I've had for that one. There's something strange going on here. Okay, yeah. So
So this, when you say the sensation of almost moving the box before you moved it, you mean a visual sensation of seeing the box move, or a physical sensation of moving the box?
I guess like a kinesthetic sensation of moving the mouse, or the upcoming what to expect, or the move I was going to make, sort of, or yeah, the movement I was planning. I think maybe that's a good way to put it. The movement I was planning to make.
And that's a kinesthetic thing. I feel in my imagination my body moving in the direction, in the way, in
Yeah,
the manner
I'm
that I
I'm
would.
looking at the spot where I'm going to move this box to, and I have my hand on the left mouse button, about to move the box over to that location, and I can almost feel myself moving the box before I actually do move it.
Okay. And is that kinesthetic anticipation, I guess we could call it? Is that
I
kinesthetic?
guess so. I guess so.
Is that
Just
the
like
most?
a basketball player maybe about to throw the ball, and or or somebody about to make a pass or something, sort of, yeah, sort of akin to that, I would say.
And is that the main portion of your experience? As so, you also are seeing the blue region, the blue spot. I understand which is going to be the target of this motion.
Yeah. I guess I would say 50-50. I'm looking at the spot where I'm about to move the box, and I can just feel or I have this sort of motor plan of moving the mouse so that the box moves to that location.
So I see the target, and I am physically, kinesthetically anticipating moving towards the target.
Yeah.
Does that characterize
Yeah.
that?
I was just trying to think if I was visualizing the box moving, but I would say no. And I think I probably would have written that down if that was the case.
Okay. And the target was the blue region.
Yeah.
And is the blue a fact of the universe?
The blue is just a fact of the universe. Yeah. Yeah.
So and how about the words me and I, my and yai, or whatever they are?
No, I think I had that sorted out, and it was just about completing moving this box over so I could move to the next word.
Okay. So at the moment of this beat, my experience is entirely of an anticipation of moving this box to there in a kinesthetic and visual kinesthetic anticipatory premonition or something.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that kinesthesis does not include actually the feeling of the mouse. Is that what that original denial statement was?
Well,
my body moving in this direction.
It was more about holding, pressing the mouse button down and holding the mouse. I was unaware that I was holding the button down at that moment.
So even though that's my real physical activity, I don't experience that. What I experience is this premonition or anticipation or whatever of the movement that is about to ensue.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm gathering that this is experientially visual, kinesthetic, not cognitive. The cognitive is over or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about how am I going to move this box, or this box goes here. It's just
or that yai means my, or objective, whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not part of your experience.
Not part of my experience at the moment.
And anything else in your experience at this moment?
Not. I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Amber, you got questions about that?
I believe I am good.
All righty, number 2.
Okay. This one's kind of short. So I was on the phone and I was saying the word something at the moment right before the beep. And I may have been saying the phrase something easy for dinner. And that's kind of all I remember. There was, I noted that there was nothing visual in my apprehension at the time. It was a bit difficult to recall because I was on the phone and I was in a conversation and the beep went off and I was talking for a couple minutes afterwards, and then I tried to remember as best I could.
So it sounds like we're confident that I'm saying something.
Yeah.
And that's part of a phrase, something easy for dinner.
Something easy for dinner. Yeah, I think I'm as far as I can remember.
So is the as far as I remember part, is that I'm sure I was in the middle of some phrase, but I can't remember what the phrase was for sure? Or is it I think my experience is of the word something, but maybe my experience was of something broader than that. So what I'm trying to get at is your experience of one word, namely something, which happens to be in the middle of the phrase, or is your experience of or maybe there's no experience. Maybe it's just I'm speaking and the beep happens to come at something.
Honestly, I think that's the most accurate description. I'm speaking and the beep happens to come right after I say the word something.
Okay.
And I can't remember much.
Okay. And then you made the comment that there was nothing visual in your experience.
Right, right.
And is that to imply that my eyes are open and they're aimed at something, but I don't see it?
Correct. Yeah, I think when I speak on the phone or when I'm focusing on speaking, I sometimes perhaps tend not to see. I'm focused. My attention is drawn to what I'm saying, and I'm not focused on what I'm looking at.
Okay. And I'm accepting that as a sort of a general self-characterization, and I also accept that as a description of what was probably happening at this moment. That I was speaking, but I was not seeing what my eyes were aimed at.
Right. Yeah.
And the content of the speaking was probably about dinner, but we're not sure about that.
I would say 60, 70% certainty on that.
Okay. And is there anything about dinner other than it's the cat? The cat's been walking back and forth.
Okay. Is there anything else about the dinner aspect? I was on the phone with Evastina, and she was saying that she just wanted to make something simple for dinner, and I think I was just trying to come up with an idea for something easy for dinner.
But it's not like I have a visualization of something or a taste of something or a...
No.
Okay. Then I think I'm good. Amber?
I'm good.
Number 3.
Yeah, and I was back at the Norwegian lessons. This time I was watching a video. The instructor was saying the word hammer, as in jeg bor på Hamar, which is I live in Hamar, which is a small village, I guess you could say. I was particularly focused on the word because she repeated it a few times and I could not clearly make out what she was saying. So I guess what I'm sort of implying is that I wasn't focused on the sentence so much, and I was quite focused on the word because I had been hoping that it comes up again because it wasn't quite clear, and I'm not familiar with this place, so it was just a repeat of what she had said, and each time she repeated it, I guess I was a little bit more clear on what she was saying, or how it was pronounced, or how it might be spelled, or.
So the word that you're aimed at is the town name,
Hamar,
or whatever.
Hamar, yeah.
And she's saying a sentence, and
Yeah.
you're hearing primarily the word Hamar.
Yeah.
And that's it as far as your experience is concerned.
Yeah.
And is the part, well, I'm trying to make this clear. I'm not sure about I'm not familiar with this place. I'm not sure what she said, whatever. Is that all just sort of explanatory context, or is that in your experience?
I think it's explanatory context because I was trying to listen carefully to this name. I think I wanted to write it down or I don't know. I felt like I would understand the sentence in the language that I'm not so familiar with a little better if I knew what this, it was kind of bothering me that I didn't know what this word was exactly.
And is that bothering you present to you, or is that, again, context and what's actually in my experiences, is the word and
No,
and
it was more like a clarification, like, oh, good, she said it again. Hamar. That's I'm getting this. I'm starting to get this name. I mean, I wasn't confusing it with any other word or anything. It was something unfamiliar, and I didn't know exactly what the word she was saying was.
And my question is, to what degree is that in your experience? If any.
I would say maybe 20%, because I was mostly focused on listening. And I knew because of the words prior to Hamar that she was going to say it. So if you hear Yaibor Pol, then they're going to say the name of the place that they live. So I knew that she was going to say that word again. If that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense that the question is how much of that is actually in your experience. It's a fact that when somebody says, I live at, or whatever that is in Norwegian, then the name of the place is going to come next. But whether I have an explicit thought, oh, somebody is saying, I live at.
I don't think I had time to think that or like get that notion, because she just speaks. She was speaking rather quickly, and I guess if I was trying to listen and she said that, and I must have been expecting the word, but I wasn't consciously thinking, okay, I can expect this word next. I wasn't consciously thinking I can expect this word that I have had trouble hearing next. But it was kind of implicit, I guess you could say.
And so are we talking about the same thing that we said was 20% a little bit ago, and now we're saying, well, probably wasn't really explicit, it was more the implicit portion of the task?
I thought, wasn't I talking about something a bit different when I said it was 20%?
I'm not sure, that's why I'm asking.
I don't remember now, to be honest. No, I think that was about being frustrated about. Oh no, I can't remember. We're gonna have to watch the video of this.
Okay. What I would say sort of in general is that there's no clear dividing line, I think, between, no bright line dividing line between what is experienced and what is implied in the way of experiencing. I'm listening intently for this word. How much of that is the knowledge that that word is going to be a place name? How much of that is explicitly, oh, this is going to be a place name? And how much of it is implicit in the way I'm listening? Oh, well, I'm listening in the way that you would listen when you listen for a place name. I think that's very hard, if not impossible, to tease apart.
Especially when somebody's speaking rather quickly. Yeah.
There's a penumbra of meaning and intention and cognition or whatever that's around everything, probably.
Yeah. Should I go on to?
I'm ready if Amber's ready.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Number
Okay,
one.
so I was taking Max for a walk, and I had just seen a man directly on my right as I was crossing a street, and he was just on the sidewalk coming towards me. And at the moment before the beep, as I crossed the street, I recalled the image of the man I had just seen. And this is something I'm not quite sure about. I don't know if recalled is the right word, but it could also be the case that the image of the man lingered as I turned my head, and began to walk forward. So I in my visualization, or this lingering image, I could see the man, his gray shirt with something yellow on it, his jeans, but his face was not clear. And I think that was just more the fact that he was a bit far away, and with the lights and things like that, I couldn't make out his face very well. And I could also see the street and the green trees that surrounded him. And the way I recalled it was that the image, or this visualization, appeared as though it was more humid or hazy than it actually was. So I hope that all kind of makes sense.
So let me tell you what I understood from that, and that is that you're crossing the street and you pass this guy.
Well, I didn't pass him. He was on my right, and he was like, I was just checking to see if there were cars, and I saw a man walking towards me, and then I looked back and then I looked ahead again to cross the street, and there was this lingering image of the man I had just seen. Is a basic way to put it.
Okay. And so I am continuing in my imagination to see someone that I had seen earlier, half a second earlier.
Yeah.
And am I seeing just the man, or would it make sense that I'm seeing the man, or is it I'm seeing the whole scene that I had just seen? So the street, I guess I had to clarify, the street and the green trees, that's part of the man seeing.
Yeah, I guess it was kind of the scene, but the man was the central focus, or what drew most of my attention, or what was drawing most of my attention in this visualization.
Okay. And so is it the case that all of my current, at the moment of the visual experience, is this imaginary creation or recreation or holding on or whatever?
Yeah, I would say so. I would say.
So I don't really experience where I'm walking. I'm walking across the crosswalk, but I don't actually see.
Ironically, I'm crossing a street which I had been just looking out for traffic, and I guess I confirmed that there was no cars or anything.
I didn't have to worry about that.
Go ahead. And I think I was, just to give it some context, I was focused on the man because Max is he still tends to want to run towards people, and people are more of a factor. The presence of people is more of a factor when taking the dog for a walk than it would be otherwise. When I take Max for a walk, I'm more attentive to people around me.
Okay. And is that context, or is that part of your direct experience?
I would say that it's context. I would say that I probably wouldn't have given this guy hardly any attention if I was on my own.
So that's probably part of this penumbra thing that I was mentioning a little bit ago. You were looking at this guy from the standpoint of Phil taking Max for a walk, but it wasn't like you were explicitly thinking, well, I got to see this guy because I'm taking Max for a walk.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I think it's not possible to tease those kinds of details apart. So is this seeing fairly vivid? other than the guy's face? And the guy's face isn't clear, but the rest of it.
I think so. Yeah, it was because I had just seen it. I had just seen this.
And so that the seeing lingers.
Yeah, and it was it was for some reason I believe that the lingering seeing was more not foggy, but it was more humid or hazy or than it actually was. And I don't know why. I mean,
And
there doesn't really have to be a reason, but
so humid has the characteristic of being of the scene. I see this guy in a humid environment. And hazy could be a characteristic of the seeing. Well, my seeing isn't very clear. It's a little hazy.
okay, I understand. It's just I think I have a lack of vocabulary. I can't think of the right word, but when it's really humid, you know how it's less clear.
Right?
It was like that. My image of the man, and it was like a really really hot humid day. Whereas it's a relatively warm day here, but it wasn't. It's not.
Wasn't that warm?
Wasn't that warm?
So maybe this is not possible, but I haven't gotten an answer to my question. So does it seem like I'm seeing this guy on a humid day? Or does it seem like I have a sort of a fuzzy?
It's like I'm seeing this guy on a humid sort of day.
Okay. So
Yes.
got it. And so the real seeing of this guy, the real seeing took place a half a second or a quarter of a second or a second or something before the beep.
Right.
And does it seem like I have continued to see him so that this was like a continuous seeing that was still ongoing? Or does it seem like I had seen him over there and now I am recreating him as if anew? Or maybe that question doesn't make sense either.
Well, no, it makes sense. That's kind of what I was trying to get at earlier. I'm not sure if it's fair to say it was a recollection or a re-imaging or a revision, like or if it was just a lingering image. And I tend to think that it was more of a lingering image. I looked over to the right, I saw the guy, and I looked ahead, and then as I started going, I was still seeing what I had just glanced at. So right there, I said still seeing. So I guess it was more of a lingering image based on my current memory, at least.
Okay. All right. I think I'm good. Remember?
I'm good as well.
Number 5.
So I was sitting with my computer, and I had indigestion, and I had just been thinking about how little I had eaten throughout the day so far. And at the moment before the beep, I was moving the cursor across the screen and thinking to myself with words, I am not hungry. The visual aspect of my experience was about 30%, and the feeling of discomfort was about 30%, and the rest was myself innerly saying, I am not hungry.
So the I am not hungry is a little bit the more prominent, I'm gathering. Is that,
Yeah.
and I am saying to myself,
Yeah. With those words, I am not hungry.
and inflected in that way.
Correct. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Just getting dog food. I'm gone.
That's
I'm
okay.
over here.
That's okay.
So is this, I am saying to myself, I am not hungry. This is a speaking to myself innerly.
Yep.
And back in the day, a month ago or whatever, when we had more or less similar things, you might have said, I
Heard
myself speaking or something like that. Is that
No, this was clearly speaking.
okay?
Yeah. It was like I was making the statement to someone.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't remember what I was looking. I said that I was moving the cursor across the screen, and that the visual aspect of my experience was about 30%, but I neglected to write down exactly what was on the screen. As far as I can remember, I was just paying attention to the movement of the cursor going across the screen.
Okay. But I'm not too sure about that sound. But I was visually seeing something about what was on the screen that we can be confident about. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it was moving the. I since I don't remember what was on the screen, and I wrote down that I was moving the cursor across the screen, I am tempted to conclude I was paying attention to the movement of the cursor.
Okay. I'm always skeptical of that kind of conclusion. But,
Fair enough.
and then I'm also 30% discomfort. Is that the indigestion discomfort?
Yeah.
And what is your experience of that?
Well, okay. To be honest, I don't know if indigestion is the right word, but I felt kind of bloated and like some discomfort in my chest, and I guess that's about as good as I can describe it.
And is bloating abdominal bloating?
Yeah.
So lower than my chest. So this is sort of two aspects of bodily discomfort. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that I am experiencing at the moment of the beep at a 30% level or whatever.
Right. But it had been an ongoing thing, so it wasn't something particular to the moment right before the beep.
Okay. All right, then I think I'm good.
I'm good too.
Number
Okay.
6.
Okay, and this was the last one. Okay, I was on the patio and I was taking off my sweater, and I glanced at the last remaining patch of snow on a small mountain closest to the mountain that is closest to our place. When I saw it, I remembered seeing another spot earlier in the day, which looked like it could have also been snow, but I wasn't sure. And I was thinking that I could just glance at it with my binoculars if I really wanted to know. At the moment right before the beep, I thought the neighbors who live in the house in the direction of the mountain might think I look nosy, or even worse, if they see me looking in the direction of their house through a pair of binoculars. So to be more specific, at the moment right before the beep, I was picturing myself with the binoculars from their perspective and innerly saying with words, think I'm weird, as in they might think I'm weird.
So is the first part of that explanation context, and the experiential part is I see myself looking through binoculars?
That's correct.
Okay. So I see myself from my neighbor's house, basically, from my neighbor's perspective.
Yeah.
And what do I see?
I see I see me standing there with like ogling at something with a pair of binoculars in a very invasive kind of way. But I'm not actually looking at anything to do with them. But I don't know if that's not really part of the, I don't know if that, I guess that's just kind of context.
Okay.
But I pictured myself with what I'm wearing, which is a green shirt and a pair of black shorts. And I picture myself on the patio. And I'm holding a pair of binoculars, and I'm just standing there looking right in the direction, right in their direction.
So I see the whole scene, not just my hands and face and binoculars, but I see the head to toe and the
Yes,
surrounding.
I see kind of how I would imagine it would look like if they saw me from their property, looking straight ahead at me.
So I see the deck in the house and the Phil standing on it, looking at me with looking back at me with binoculars or something.
Yeah.
Okay. And that you said you were in the act of taking your sweater off. Is your sweater off, or
My sweater is off. Yeah.
in reality my sweater is off?
My sweater is off.
And
I still have it in my hands.
And do I see myself with the sweater on or off?
With the sweater off.
Okay. But I don't see the sweater. Is that true?
That's true.
So the sweater in reality is in my hand, but in my picture, my hands are holding the binoculars.
Yeah.
Okay. And at the same time, I am innerly saying, think I'm weird.
Yeah. Again, I have to use the word vaguely without being able to explain the vagueness. But I know the word weird was definitely present, and yeah, it might have just been weird, or I don't know, but the implication was that, like, they might think I'm weird. Or, I have to apologize for being so vague, but
Well, there's no apology necessary. The inner experience and outer experience are not necessarily the same thing. So let's focus on the word weird and then worry about the rest of it. So is the weird present as if spoken, or I'm just somehow thinking weird?
it was present as if spoken.
And innerly spoken.
Yeah.
And this is spoken as opposed to what we have said in the past as hearing myself speak.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right.
So this would be spoken in the same way as I am not hungry. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that I am not hungry was a bit more clear. Like I'm I'm telling somebody I am like I had just been thinking I haven't really eaten much today, but still I am not hungry. Where this was kind of like they might think I'm weird, or like it's just like almost as if a whisper or yeah.
And is that an experiential whisper, or is that a I am interpreting vagueness as being like a whisper?
I'm interpreting vagueness as being like a whisper.
Okay. So I experience myself as speaking, but the speaking is not as clear as it was in the previous beep.
That's right.
And part of that unclarity is that I'm not actually sure how much of it I'm speaking. Maybe it's just weird. Maybe it's think I'm weird. Maybe it's they think I'm weird.
Right. I mean, there seems to be some kind of relation to the sureness of the thought. Like when I was saying to myself, I am not hungry, it was very clear and I was very certain about that. But in this case, I don't know if they would actually see me, and I don't know if they would, like, there's mountains there and there's things that are going on. There's like paragliders and all sorts. There's a cable car that goes to the top. There's all sorts of stuff to see. So I mean, it's not completely weird if you saw somebody looking in that direction with binoculars. But if your home happens to be in the same direction, then somebody might wonder what you're up to.
Okay.
So that, just to give it a bit of context. So, and this is just an observation that I'm making. Like I don't know if it like. I don't know. And by the way, I did get the binoculars and look to see if that was a tiny patch of snow, because they were right here. They were very convenient. So.
And did you get caught by your neighbors?
Not that I know of. Not that I know. I don't think there was anyone home.
So in my imagination, I see myself looking through binoculars, and I experience myself as saying, think I'm weird or something like that. And does that all seem like part of the same single experience, or does it seem like I'm two different things going on? One is that I'm seeing and the other is I'm saying.
I would say it seemed more like part of the same experience. Almost as if, I don't want to open a can of worms here, but what comes to mind is like if you were watching something on television where it's an image of a guy looking through binoculars, but he's wondering if his neighbors will think he's weird because he's looking in their direction. And then you can hear him thinking to himself, they might think I'm weird.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
So it's part of the same scene there.
Okay. Then I think I'm good.
Okay.
So let's think about what we should be doing going forwards here. And I'm open to a lot of different deals here. So I don't have in mind the answer to the question that I'm raising, but we've done this 10 times.